for HUD. First question, I'm going to go down all the questions and pass the mic and allow you guys to answer the question. First one is the status of the Section 811 Housing Supportive Program for those with disabilities. What is the status of that program in the state of Georgia? The second question is the Section 8 waiting list. I understand that, the waiting list is just not open. We kind of want to know when it's going to open. The third question is the HUD guidelines as it relates to those with felonies. That's a major problem in keeping people out of houses. So I kind of want to know where we are. I know there have been some changes recently, earlier this year, specifically for those with felonies, but I just kind of want to know what are we looking towards in that space. So question number one, where are we at on the Section 811 for HUD as it relates to those with disabilities?
Yeah, so I'll start with the first two and I'll turn it over to Shay for the others. So for the Section 811, housing for those with disabilities, so we made the shift a few years ago. We shifted away from the project rental assistance contracts where we concentrated the 811 population together. And now we go through what we call a PRA, which is project rental assistance. We expect to have a notice of funding opportunity with fiscal 23 appropriations that we received to go and advertise another opportunity to add more 811, solicit, what that interest would be. The way we've shifted though, and moving from the PRAC to the PRA, that's really then we look at state, the state agencies, the housing finance agencies, to be recipients for that grant program, and then when they go through with the programs like low-income housing tax credit, they will place certain PRA units in those other affordable units. So there should be a NOFO coming out later this year to provide that opportunity for states and jurisdictions to apply for. In regard to the waiting list, so if you're talking about, so I can speak to the Section 8 project-based rental assistance, which is our bailiwick there. A lot of that, having waiting lists open is really, it's a supply and demand. So really, owners have tenant selection plans that govern when they'll close a waiting list. Unfortunately, right, because we're talking supply and demand, there's a lot more demand for our deeply assisted units than the housing supply is. So, we talked a little bit earlier about the rent increases and kind of those hikes that we've seen. Challenges that places on us is we have a finite amount of rental assistance we can pay, and when we see the rent spikes across, especially for me across the region, then that takes so then those are rent increases that we're applying for properties that are existing in our portfolio, and then that takes away from possibly new housing stock that can come online because we have to keep paying the rents, and seeing those those skyrocketing increases across the portfolio. But again, hopefully, this comes down to, again, a supply and demand. Hopefully we will see more housing supply come available, and then that would then impact the reduction of waiting lists and other opportunities that